Go.
Good morning or afternoon. Sego, Sewik, Wego. Welcome, everyone. Today, we will be discussing the idea of bridging the gap between elders and youth. To begin, we will introduce the Reclaiming Our Roles Youth Supporting Survivors program and the role that we play within the Survivors Secretariat. The following section will describe our main message to elders and survivors of how we seek to draw connections between one another. Next, we will discuss how to understand the gap between elders and youth and describe the various challenges and experiences that prevent intergenerational connections. The importance of discussing this topic is to improve connections with elders by encouraging and embracing conversation about knowledge and culture. This section explains the significance of connection and the impacts it has on community and youth wellness. The remainder of this presentation focuses on repairing knowledge transfer between elders and youth by creating spaces of connections through land-based healing, cultural connectedness, storytelling, and sharing traditional cultural practices. To end this presentation, we would like to provide some time for the audience, particularly elders and survivors, to speak on what they think will help bridge the gap between elders.
The Youth Supporting Survivors program has been developed to create a safe and community-focused environment for young people who identify as intergenerational survivors. This program is focused on engaging young people in the work of the Survivors Secretariat. Applications are sought from young people from the Six Nations of the Grand River and other impacted communities to be trained and then participate in operating the ground-penetrating radar machines on grounds associated with the Mohawk Institute. This summer, our GPR team is comprised of 8 students. Our team is as follows: Chantel Venevry, Samuel Riddle, Dakota Sabrin, Michael Jones, Christina Hill, Jaden Squires, Eric Patterson, and Angelina Bomberry. We would like to take a moment for each of our team members to share why this work is important to us.
Sego. My name is Angelina Bomberry, and I feel a great sense of importance and responsibility for the work I do. I enjoy working with a team that can make me laugh, smile, and feel supported. When I am on the grounds, I maintain a good mind and energy for my ancestors. I keep my family and community close in mind as I am working towards healing in the truth for them.
Hello, I'm Chantel Venevry. My work experience has taught me more about how, as a part of the youth, can help bridge the gap between cultural loss and trauma and repairing the cultural knowledge with spiritual, mental healing, and wellness. I am grateful to be part of a resilient, intelligent, and determined team to help bring closure to our survivors and community.
Hello, my name is Michael, and as I get older, I would like to play a bigger part in my community. Working with the GPR team has been a good first step in becoming more involved, and it's helped me get a better understanding of the problems that we as a whole are still dealing with, and has given me a goal of reconnecting with our culture.
Hello, I'm Samuel Riddle. I enjoy working in the ground search team because of the responsible, endearing, and humorous youth involved. It can be tiring work, and it is rewarding and fulfilling knowing that necessary searches are done with integrity and good minds.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Patterson, and I think doing this kind of work highlights the strength and resilience that our community continues to demonstrate. This work is incredibly important to both support community-driven youth and survivors of residential school systems towards healing. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be surrounded by such outstanding individuals who recognize the importance of this work.
Hi, I'm Jaden Squire, and I chose to be a part of the ground search team because of the ongoing responsibility youth have towards our elders and particularly our survivors. I was raised by my great aunt and uncle who showed me at a young age that the best way you can show up for your community is by having a good mind and a kindness in yourself. So this work gave me the opportunity to reciprocate that kindness. Yama.
And we have one more member, Christina Hill, who also has a quote that she'd like to share. And it's just posted on this slide here. So I'll just give you a few seconds to kind of read it over.
The ground-penetrating radar team recognizes that we need to bridge the gap and create a connection between youth and survivors and elders, and that we share responsibility to create, maintain, and expand this relationship. Our message to you is as follows. As youth working towards reconciliation, we seek to provide spaces of connection and mutual respect to foster a more culturally educated and committed generation. We are actively committed to working towards creating relationships that encourage brave spaces and prioritize the voices of elders while being upheld and supported by youth. We recognize what elders mean to us and how they impact our lives because of their importance to who we are. We recognize that elders bridge us and are the fundamental glue of our culture. And we recognize that we need to create a lasting and respectful connection with elders and survivors.
Reconciliation can oftentimes be very difficult to navigate and understand. How can we expect to reconcile years of oppression and injustice? We as youth must reclaim our position of supporting elders and survivors to reinforce and sustain their critical position within our communities. Reconciliation in regards to this presentation is to recognize the experiences and challenges that continue to prevent strong connections amongst youth and elders. Reconciliation has to start by addressing and understanding why there is a gap between youth and elders/survivors.
To address the gap between young people and elders, we need to start by understanding why and how this gap is formed. It's important to recognize how the situation has worsened over time. Understanding and addressing the ripples of colonization is crucial for recognizing the depths of historical injustice and working towards healing, empowerment, and the restoration of Indigenous rights and self-determination. By acknowledging these factors, we can better comprehend the challenges we face in bridging the gap between generations and work towards solutions. Addressing the gap between Indigenous youth and elders requires fostering opportunities for intergenerational connection, promoting cultural revitalization, supporting language preservation efforts, and creating platforms for meaningful dialogue and exchange between generations. Recognizing the value of Indigenous knowledge and the importance of intergenerational relationships is crucial for building stronger and more resilient Indigenous communities.
Each group has faced different experiences and challenges in their lifetime. Elders have firsthand experiences of significant historical events such as land dispossession, forced relocations, and cultural suppression, which can shape their perspectives and values. Younger generations, on the other hand, may have different experiences and priorities influenced by contemporary societal dynamics, creating a generational gap in understanding and outlook. The introduction of modern technologies, media, and globalized influences can reshape the worldview and interests of younger generations. This can create a divide between traditional Indigenous practices and the preferences and aspirations of Indigenous youth, leading to a perceived gap in values and cultural alignment. Here are some factors, but not limited to, that contribute to the endangerment of transmitting Indigenous knowledge from elders to youth. Residential and day schools, the 60s scoop, changes in traditional lifestyles, introduction of new technologies, for example, television, computers, smartphones, etc., loss of control over ancestral lands, environmental degradation, assimilation, loss of native languages, and government policies such as the Indian Act. The presence of elders contributes to a sense of shared parenting, which fosters a closer-knit community. Elders are highly respected members of Indigenous communities and are not necessarily defined by age. They are considered keepers of traditional Indigenous knowledge, often but not always including spirituality, and they live according to these ways. We recognize that it is important to note that solutions should be tailored to the specific needs and context of each Indigenous community. There must be collaborative efforts made, respectful engagement, and a commitment to honoring Indigenous cultures and knowledge, which are vital for successfully bridging the gap between youth.
The importance of connection. When we talk about connection between youth and elders, we do so enthusiastically because of the importance we know it has. The sharing of knowledge and culture, or the transmission of Indigenous knowledge, has deep connections to the health of the land and the people on it. By Indigenous knowledge, or IK, we are referring to the knowledge held by Indigenous people regarding the environment, ways of life, and culture. Indigenous knowledge includes knowledge that is passed between generations, that is acquired through experience, and gained spiritually. We also realize that it is not a type of knowledge that can be known through simply reading it, but one that is known through a way of life. Over the course of piecing together this project, we have come to know and identify with many aspects of Indigenous life that are positively influenced by the transmission of Indigenous knowledge. In regards to being beneficial to our physical health, engaging in traditional sustenance activities with our elders, like berry harvesting, hunting, and fishing, not only provide us with healthy food that fuels us, but helps us build and maintain a lasting relationship to both the elders and the land. From other studies we came across, it is also clear that the transmission of Indigenous knowledge from elders to youth has direct influences on the mental and spiritual health of the youth. For example, the use of Indigenous languages, being a rich source of Indigenous knowledge itself, is connected to lower rates of suicide among youth. In this way, and during this time, your voices as elders are important and needed.
Our focus is to prepare knowledge transfer by engaging in land-based healing, storytelling, and cultural connectedness to bridge the generational gap between youth and elders. Land-based healing can be seen as the bridge between the past, present, and the future. Our elders are the knowledge holders and keepers. The use of their knowledge and teachings is a way for youth to heal not only themselves, but also their families and communities. Land-based experiences allow for a connection to and learning from elders. It looks like a learning about the bush in the bush. These are just some key components of land-based involvement, which include having freedom from distractions, having openness that allows for both specific skills and a broader sense of competence, creating a shared sense of community, implementing land-based programs to heal the trauma inflicted on Indigenous youth to improve their sense of self. It's contextual, and Indigenous knowledge is situated in time and place. To be transferred and grasped, one must be immersed in nature and connected through language to nature itself. It's holistic, cyclical in concept and embedded in community. Cultural connectedness is practicing our traditional ways. It is aimed at treating imbalances in one's body, mind, and spirit by connecting to Mother Earth. Every practice can be different between nations, such as through different ceremonies, medicines, and traditions. Cultural practices include singing and dancing, cooking and hunting, sewing and beading, etc. Medicine practices can be used to reconnect, balance, heal, and become grounded. It allows us to let go of negative thoughts or feelings we carry. Examples include smudging or a sweat lodge. Modern examples our team partakes in with our elders include playing lacrosse, playing board and card games, sewing traditional clothing, gardening, bonfires, barbecues, watching sports, watching movies, traveling, attending ceremonies, longhouse and powwows, cleaning, and babysitting together, etc. Regardless of what the activity is, the most important part is the time we get to spend with them. The power of storytelling. Storytelling is used to provide a connection of grounding to the culture by establishing knowledge in the mind, body, and spirit to offer hope, strength, and vision. Life lessons can be brought forth through storytelling to essentially guide our youth by teaching about values, history, events, relationships, cultural beliefs, and sacred stories through our knowledge keepers. The use of storytelling, narration, and/or life experiences when explaining or sharing imperative moments allow the listener or reader and the teller to connect to the material in a way that is relevant and non-intrusive to all. Some stories that are shared include the creation story, Peacemaker's Journey, Tadadaho, Seven Dancers, the Cornhusk Doll, First Lacrosse Game, and the story of the Wampum.
As we near the end of our presentation, we'd like to take a moment to allow the audience to kind of voice their opinions about this particular topic. So some of the questions include, how do you think that we can bridge the gap between elders and youth? How have you connected to youth in the past and present? What would you like to see going forward? And what events would you like to see carried out in the future? So if you want to take like a few seconds to kind of read them over again. he will provide that time for you.
We would like to say nyawa to everyone for allowing us the time and space to speak about this topic. We understand that this is a complex issue within our communities that requires a lot more work and discussion with the elders and survivors. We hope that this presentation can generate an intergenerational conversation about the significance of this connection. We are happy to speak with you if you have any more questions or if you need support. Please refer to the phone numbers listed on the current slide. Nyawa again for taking the time to hear us speak.